Boundaries are misunderstood by many people. They think it's a demand for someone else to change, but it's not. It's a standard for how you will respond when they don't. This message is for the women who are exhausted by how often they have to defend their boundaries, how often they're met with resistance, deflection, or guilt instead of respect, how often they say no and someone hears, "convince me," how often they have to carry the burden of making others feel comfortable with the standards they've set for themselves. This is for you if you've ever wondered whether your boundary was too much, too harsh, or too unkind, when really it was just clear. Let's name the truth. Your boundary has absolutely nothing to do with how someone responds to it. You don't set a boundary to get a certain reaction. You maintain a boundary because you matter, because your energy, your peace, and your space deserve to be protected. A boundary isn't a request. It's not a dare, and it's not an opening for someone to make their case. But what does matter is this: your response to someone violating your boundary. That reveals everything about your self-respect. When someone pushes against what you've already made clear, and you shrink or soften or overexplain so that they won't think badly of you, that's not them betraying you. That's you betraying yourself. I know that betrayal intimately. I teach partner dancing. A lot of my students are single men. And at one point, I tried wearing a wedding ring while teaching, not because I was married, but because I thought it might reduce the unwanted attention from male students. But what I learned was this: men who respected me didn't need a ring, and the ones who didn't, they bypassed it anyway. They flirted, they crossed the line, and when I called it out, I was told I should be flattered. And when I wasn't, I became the problem. Too cold, too full of myself, too hard to please. So I stopped wearing it, because pretending to belong to someone else wasn't any more effective than simply using my words. If a man needed to believe I was someone else's in order to respect me, that wasn't respect. It was possession avoidance. The key was in becoming more discerning. I became more selective about who I allowed into my space, because if someone couldn't honor a direct boundary from me, they weren't someone I wanted near me, on or off the dance floor. And I see that same energy from both men and women every day in my current work at the Garden Center. We have areas clearly marked employees only. There are barricades, signs. It couldn't be more obvious, and yet people still climb around them. They ignore the signage and wander, even push their way into restricted areas like the rules don't apply to them. It's not because they don't know, it's because they've decided their wants matter more than the boundary. And it doesn't stop there. People will pick up plants that haven't even been priced yet, plants that aren't ready to be sold, and try to walk out with them. We have to stop what we're doing, ask for the plant back, and shoo them out of the area. It disrupts our work, it wastes time, and it disrespects the systems in place. All because someone couldn't wait. All because someone believed access should be automatic. That same dynamic, entitlement over respect, is exactly what plays out when people test personal boundaries. They see the signs, they see the limitations, and they decide those don't apply to them. So when someone says they didn't know they were crossing a line, most of the time they did. They just didn't think it mattered. The same energy showed up when I started running women-only coaching groups. The boundary was clear. The space was for women, period. But some men didn't just message asking to join. They pretended to be women trying to enter their Zoom room with women's names. They claimed they had tech difficulties and couldn't turn on their camera or audio. They wanted access without accountability. And because of them, I had to change the rules. I had to require all participants to show themselves on camera, even the women who weren't quite ready to be seen, women who were vulnerable, healing, working up the courage to share. Now they had to reveal themselves, not because they were unsafe, but because men lied. That's the thing about boundary violations. When someone believes they're the exception and pushes past the line, two things happen. First, we have to create stronger protections, stricter policies, tighter circles, more caution. And second, the people who are already respecting the boundary, they're the ones who end up paying the price. I know some people feel that that's unfair. I've heard it before. Why should I be punished for what someone else did? But if that's how it feels, take it as an invitation to become a change maker, not a victim. Because every time someone respects the boundary instead of testing it, trust has a chance to grow again. Recently, I posted a boundary publicly on Facebook. I said I wasn't accepting male friend requests at this time. I didn't name anyone. I wasn't calling anyone out. I was setting a filter for my own digital space, a note to the algorithm, not an open challenge. But then came the messages. Men who wanted to know why I was excluding them. Men who felt they deserved an exception. Men who wrote essays about how they respected women and that they weren't like the others. I hadn't spoken to them, but somehow they saw themselves in what I said and chose to argue instead of respect it. It's like telling Facebook, please stop showing me dairy ads, and suddenly every ice cream maker in the country is in my inbox saying, but my ice cream is different. But I use oat milk. But you didn't mean me, right? I wasn't talking to them, but their response revealed everything. Because it's not that they didn't understand the boundary, it's that they didn't like it. And they believed that not liking it meant that they had the right to challenge it. Some messaged in private, thinking that by doing it quietly, they were being respectful. Let me be clear. Trying to violate someone's boundary behind closed doors doesn't make it more respectful. It makes it more manipulative. If someone knows the boundary exists and still tries to work around it, they've already shown their hand. But here's what matters just as much. Not everyone responded that way. Some people got it. They respected the space I was trying to hold and moved on without needing to be told twice. They didn't take it personally because they understood it wasn't personal. Some reached out just to say, hey, I admire what you're doing and I hope you keep building what you're building. And they didn't push. They didn't expect a reply. They didn't ask to be let in. One man messaged me with something else entirely: curiosity. Not to change my mind, but to understand, to listen, to witness what it meant that I was choosing to create something just for women, and to do so without guilt or apology. That felt different, because boundaries don't push away connection. They reveal who is capable of real connection. That's the part we don't talk about enough. Boundaries are not walls. They're invitations. Invitations to meet someone where they are, not where they want to be. Invitations to trust. Invitations to safety. Invitations to respect. There's a quote I love by Prentice Hemphill. Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. It's not about keeping people away. It's about creating space where both people get to exist. Where I don't have to disappear just to make someone feel comfortable. Where my no is just as sacred as my yes. Where trust can grow because respect is present. My trust grows when someone honors my no. When they don't try to reframe it. When they don't bait me. When they don't pretend to agree while secretly waiting for me to soften. That's when I know connection is actually possible, because it's rooted in truth. So ladies, here's what I want you to remember. You don't owe anyone access. You don't owe anyone an explanation. And you don't have to repackage your boundary to make it more appealing. When someone violates your boundary, they're showing you who they are. But when you allow it, when you rationalize it, when you betray your own standard just to avoid being difficult, that's when you show yourself who you're still willing to be. And I know you've worked too hard to become this version of you just to abandon her the moment someone else feels inconvenienced. Boundaries are not about rejection. They're about respect. They are how you protect what is sacred. They are how you teach others how to love you and how to treat you. And they are how you prove, most of all, that you love yourself. If you're craving a space where your boundaries are respected, your voice is heard, and your growth is supported, join me in my 12-week women's group coaching circle, Beyond the Butterflies. This is not a one-size-fits-all program. It's a safe, supportive container to explore whatever is coming up for you, whether you're learning to speak up, strengthen your relationships, build your confidence, or simply learning to trust yourself again. We're all in different places on the journey, and that's exactly the point. You don't have to have it all figured out to belong here. You just have to show up. Click or copy the link in the notes to check it out. We'd love to welcome you in.